Hello and welcome everyone to a little bit of a different video on Worldwide Rush. Today will be way shorter than the normal Let's Play because we are in the blog post 16 of Worldwide Rush. It was already released on Friday the 26th, so by now 4 days ago. And I just want to go through it with you because it threw me a little bit off on how to continue with my save game with the Estonian Empire, because there are updates. And there are needed updates, let's say it like that. I tried to play the game. I mean, we already had like one crash within an episode there. I could just reload a save file. And then I tried to record for the next episode to gain some speed with taking out other companies. And the game was lagging severely, so that it wasn't enjoyable to play. It wasn't enjoyable to watch. And then it crashed twice on me. One time where I still had save files, second time where I had no save files at all. So it was a bit of a hassle. I still have the save game where we left off basically, and I will see if we continue or if we start a second playthrough with the new changes, but let's talk about the changes. So new updates in the live preview branch, so not in the main game, I believe, but in the beta versions on Steam. At least that's what I suspect. Same like Nimble Rails. And yeah, they talk about the original plan was to have pure revenge on Monday and a full release on Thursday, but everything got delayed. Yeah, that's just average in game development, and especially with indie games and smaller games, let them take the time they need. That is one of the more important points here. I don't see this game in a state where they need to rush updates, but the game is in a state where they need to add features and make it more stable to keep the game up in the long run. Let's say it like that. They also discounted. Yes, they encountered issues. Yeah, discounted. Let's go. They encountered issues. Most likely, they were saying they're having an SSD issue with that PC even dying on them producing the game. That's a bit hilarious. I want to say the game dies on the players and the PC dies on the developers. Quite fittingly, they say most likely an SSD issue, and development continued on a laptop as they had no time to reinstall everything and prepared for work to push out the updates on time, I believe. And yeah, they wanted to share what is new. What they did not talk about most of the last 2 weeks was about performance bugs and small additions that we gathered from various places. Performance is horrendous, especially in the late game. There are bugs, and yeah, that's the average way how small games work. If you ever create a game yourself, you will find that people find bugs that you thought were impossible. And performance, especially in late games where everything is big, can be horrendous and quite bad. So the first big news, company shares. We already have a screenshot put in of Asian Airlines, for example, that you can buy shares from a company. No more being bought by an AI in a single month. Companies now have shares that start locked and are unlocked every second month. Company owners will have a chance to buy their own shares first, and if they fail to do so, then they will go to the open market for anyone to buy. You will be able to buy already bought shares once all shares are bought from the open market. Basically trading without consent. So if we buy out a company, it's no more, oh, they have a price tag and we buy them out. But we have to go via the shares, which is a good feature, especially if you're a smaller company and a big company just buys you out and your game is over within seconds. Shares will become locked once you buy 100% of them, allowing you to keep your company as it is, control if it should expand or sustain, merge with it or liquidate. The best options depends on what you are after. So if we have all the shares, we can decide on what to do with companies and what to do with our company. So that is some good news. Dividends. Having shares allows you to collect dividends from other companies' profits. So if they make 100 million and we own quite a big part of it, we will also get a lot of money. So that's another way to grow. By default, they are set to 20% if you own 100%, but once you own 100% of the company, you will be able to specify dividends yourself. I see quite a funny way how to abuse this. So yeah, that will be funny, but that's just how it works in real life as well, I guess. Open markets are sometimes not the best option, but I don't want to get into politics. Price. The share price is based on a company's value and shares bought. If you buy other companies' shares, then your share price will increase. The more shares are bought in a company, the bigger price they will have as well. If done right, it is a good strategy to buy some shares at the early game, collect dividends and sell shares later. That's of course good for finance, but maybe not so good if you want to take over other companies. Lastly, AI companies will not merge or liquidate players on the hardest difficulty, but you will be stuck working under them and paying dividends from your profit. It is a loose condition if you choose so. So that's some interesting news. Especially on hard mode, you can run through and try to not get taken over by AI as a challenge. So that increases the difficulty of the game, I would say, and it makes it more interesting and opens up a few new challenges that you can play. So that sounds like good news. Performance-wise, more saves allowed me to debug more. So the more we players play, the more you play, the more I play, the more everyone plays, the more bug reports and maybe crash reports are there, so they can work off, and they use it to improve the performance further. Most of the work was put into the memory management. I noticed that there were a lot of allocations made when passengers were searching for routes. It was so severe that I forced GC collection every frame. The culprit was the red black tree that I was using for the A-path search, so it's technical for the algorithm. You can insert and retrieve results from it with great performance, but every time you insert something, a new allocation is made. With huge save files on max speed over a 10-second span, over 2 gigabytes were allocated, and that is a lot for a 10-second span. That's really quite a lot. So I made object pooling for threads to reuse all needed classes for the A search, which removed new object creation. And for the red black tree, I made a radix sort type of system that avoids new allocations. That basically removed allocations for route searching and increased performance dramatically. For some save, I noticed an increase from 7 to 60 frames per second. And that is quite a big increase, of course, for some saves. So that will not affect everyone. There will be probably games where you have like 5 FPS, and after it we are maybe at 20 to 30. We will see that, and yeah, I'm happy to hear that. It's of course a lot of technical speech, but getting the game to run better, faster, and use less data, I think is or have less data laying around, basically dead and not needed anymore. That's already progress. Company history, let's move on to that. This was added today, a great small addition that should make worlds more alive. Once you create a new company and buy a hub, the game will save this information for future use. The next time you start a new game, there will be a chance that your past company will spawn in the same country with past configuration if its name was not taken. On the same note, the game will remember the last company you created and load your settings in a new game window. Then other improvements to note, smarter AI, especially at the game start, to prevent companies that do nothing. I haven't even seen that, but maybe I just didn't notice it. And more indirect passengers problems and more passenger boarding in the wrong direction problems. I mean, that was quite severe. So that is basically a very short dev block. Okay, I talked on to it for I talked too much on that, but that sounds like great news. That sounds like good news, and I personally believe that this is also progress. I said it earlier on, it's progress, and I will try to see if this affects my old save, because I played before it was released and the game crashed before this blog post was published. So we will see how that goes. And you can write down in the comments, should I start a new one? Should I try to continue with the old one? Because I'm a bit scared to start the old one up. It crashes on me all the time, I feel like. So maybe I will start with a new one next week. We will see about that. And until then, I hope you have a nice week. I hope this to see you next week when we play Wet Red Rush, and maybe start a new save, maybe try to rescue and continue the old one. However it goes, have a nice week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my thoughts and rumbling around it. Yeah, thank you. Have a nice week. Bye bye, and see you on the next one.